Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. I'm your host, Crander Q, aka my real name. Now you know all about our merch that we have out there. We've got hats, stickers, t-shirts, but unfortunately we're running through that. The holidays we will rebrand, put out some new stuff. Hopefully we get something that you like to buy, as well as we got to promote Randy and Alex here. They got the most views on our silly podcast. I don't care. But also one of our sponsors here, Darren Corbin. You can follow Darren Corbin on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter at Darren Corbin, and TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. Check him out at patreon.com/Darren Corbin. And you can help him through his injury here, as well as our other sponsor, Superior Creations here. Oops, hitting the buttons too fast. We got custom tumblers. Check her out on Facebook.com/Superior Creations MN. And as well, our guest here today, we have Troy. Troy's going to unpack a little bit about an obsessed fan at Showtime Pro Wrestling. Troy, you want to give us some insight on this obsessed fan at Showtime there?
Yeah. Well, that's Jared. No, he's a good guy. He doesn't like Rad Lightning a whole lot, but
I mean,
no, he's a good guy.
yeah, he just doesn't get it, I guess. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Rad. I love cheering you on at the shows there and Showtime Pro Wrestling, but I mean, he's just so obsessed with you. I don't know how you put up with it. So,
Yeah.
so all seriousness aside, how are you doing tonight, Troy?
Good, very good. How are you?
I am great. The beard looks okay, so hopefully it stays that way. It's a little dry here up in the great north of Superior. We got 27 degrees out there, so my beard looks like crap, but I'm having a great day.
Awesome, awesome.
So we'll just jump right into it. What is some of your earliest memories of wrestling?
Yeah, so I didn't grow up with it. My parents didn't watch it, grandparents
Okay,
didn't watch it. Kind of funny how I discovered it was um, watching. I'm old enough to where when I was a kid, the only time I got to watch cartoons was Saturday morning.
okay,
So I would watch the Saturday morning cartoons. And then one day, I just remember, I don't know if I just was doing something else or left the TV on, and cartoons were done at like 11 a.m. or something, and wrestling came on. And I was watching, and I was like, what in the world is this? This is awesome. Like, I couldn't believe, it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I was a fan of like He-Man and G.I.
okay.
Joe and cartoons like that. So to see like, I don't know, it was like a real life cartoon to me when I was like nine, I think 9 or 10, somewhere in there. Probably nine when I first saw it.
Okay.
So
Was there any
it was like,
characters that really stood out to you in those beginning days?
yeah. So I'm trying to think. I think it was like a WWE like Superstars or Challenge, I think was
Okay,
the first show I saw. And then I also saw like the AWA syndicated show. So I just remember it was either like late 86, early 87, somewhere in there. It was the lead into WrestleMania 3.
okay.
So I got to see all the lead up to the Hogan Andre match.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of my introduction to wrestling. So it was kind of cool. I saw the Piper's Pit with
Hmm.
Hogan and Andre and Ventura and Piper. Yeah.
Rips the chain off of Hogan's neck there.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
the
Yeah.
friendship ends. Yeah, I remember seeing like that later on and being like, wow, it's way
Right.
different.
Yeah, it was really cool how they built that angle.
Hmm.
Bobby Heenan being involved and everything. So yeah, that was the time frame when I first started watching wrestling.
I mean, Bobby Heenan, you mentioned him, R.I.P., just one of the greats. I miss him. Like, one of my favorite jokes that he said was how Hulk Hogan's entrance was his second favorite entrance music, and then Gorilla's like, well, who's your first favorite? The rest of them. He was just so iconic with just being so witty and funny. And oh
Yeah.
man, I
Yeah,
got
he
to meet
was
him, but I wish I could have met him in his prime just to talk smack with him.
oh, he was hilarious.
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to love him and Gorilla Monsoon on
Oh yeah, yeah,
commentary.
yeah. Now don't take this the wrong way, Rad. It is nice to have like an older perspective of the wrestling versus, previous guests have always talked about the attitude area and
Right.
nowadays stuff, but that golden age does hold up still.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
as edgy, but I mean, it still drove the fans to come in and see the larger than life characters of Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man.
yep.
And for me, I wasn't like a follower, so it's all like, oh, I don't like any of those guys. I would pick the weird ones. You got Typhoon,
Right.
Earthquake, and Doink, and people like that. That kind of were just not your mainstream because I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be like everybody else. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, when I was like 9 years old, I just liked all the good guys.
mm,
That was like
gotcha.
I didn't start liking the heels till I was a teenager.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah,
Did you go to any live events when you were young, or did it kind of wait till you were older when you were able to go by yourself?
right. Yeah, it was I think the first live event I went to I was 18, and it was like a independent show that was in my hometown.
Okay,
So, yeah, I no, I never went, unfortunately. That would have been a lot of fun back then.
gotcha.
But um but yeah, the first live event I went to, I remember it was I'm from Menominee, Wisconsin,
Okay,
and it was at the high school, and Ken Patera, I think it was one of his shows,
okay,
and Wayne Bloom was there,
okay.
Brunzell was there, but he was just signing autographs. Um, yeah, it
That's
was like,
jumping Jim Brownsville, correct?
yep, yep, Jumpin' Jim, yeah, that would have been I think like '96, something like that.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I remember those guys just because I loved the Killer Bees. I thought it was cool how they would wrestle and then, put on the masks and then just roll in and out to kind of,
yeah,
stooge off the ref. I always thought that was kind of cool. So,
yeah, yeah, that was a cool gimmick, and they were a
hmm
good team.
yeah.
There was just in the '80s there were so many good tag teams.
hmm
It
Yep.
was like hard for them to get
Yeah.
past some of the other ones, but
And then he was, I believe, AWA champions with Greg.
yes,
Okay. The
yeah,
High Flyers.
the High Flyers, yeah,
Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep.
yeah. So yeah, Jim Brunzell he's a really nice guy too.
Definitely. Yeah. I met him and Greg at MAW, I think 2 years ago now. So,
Okay, cool, yeah, yep.
yeah. My only complaint was when I was in line talking to Jim, I had paid, to, do my thing. And then this guy just comes out of nowhere and steps in front of me as I'm about to talk to Greg, and he was going to sign the book too. And I was like, okay, I guess you can take my spot, but I got to talk to Jim. He autographed his book for me. It was super cordial. They took a picture and stuff. So, but
Cool.
it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Next time I'll be more aggressive, I think. So,
yeah. You can't let somebody just fudge in front of you.
yeah, I look tough. The beard just throws it off. So,
Okay, okay.
and I'm sure my buddy Randy, who I bragged about earlier in the episode, will give me shit because, oh, you didn't force your way up there. It wasn't gold dust, so I didn't feel the need to. So,
That's all right. That's all right.
so with that, you mentioned you grew up in Menominee. Do you remember the Gagne that kind of ran in Jim Falls, Eau Claire area there?
Yeah, Jim.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Jim. Well, yeah, Jim. He pronounced his name Gagne, but it wasn't spelled the same.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I think I went to a few early ones with my uncle down there, and he was the big name or the
Yes.
name on the card. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, Jim wrestled for a while in the '80s.
okay,
Trying to remember what he told me, because I wrestled for him in All American AAW
okay,
back in the late '90s, early 2000s. But yeah, Jim, I think he started with Eddie Sharkey, like back
okay.
in like somewhere in the mid '80s. And he wrestled, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, something like that. I mean, he was a huge guy, you know.
Yes, yep.
He's like 6'6" or something, and like 300 pounds. Like he was the perfect build for that time frame.
hmm
The mid
Definitely agree
'80s
with that.
when all the
So,
guys were huge.
yes, yes. Now I don't want to be disrespectful. Now is he still alive?
Jim, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, he is.
I think
Yeah,
he
I
still
haven't.
runs a bar or something. I think my dad told me.
Yes, he used
Okay.
to. But I think he sold it. He's retired now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. But I haven't seen him in a couple of years. But yeah, yeah, I always got along pretty good with Jim. So
Yeah, that definitely unlocked a memory there when you mentioned like, Menominee and the Gagne. Just I totally forgot about him. You're from my neck of the woods down there, and
oh yeah,
yeah, so that's kind of cool.
that is
So
cool. Yeah.
um, AWA, WWF. Did you ever get into the ECW or the WCW, WCW or the ECW? Were there anybody in there that you kind of liked, or did you like
Yeah,
any of that?
so in the so like I say, I was like 86, 87, somewhere in there when I started watching.
Okay.
And then we got cable TV like around that same time frame, maybe a couple years later. And back then there were so many different territories that were on cable.
Hmm.
Because I remember seeing like World Class as a kid, and I saw USWA as a kid, and I saw UWF even, Bill Watts' company.
Okay.
So like, yeah, it was awesome back then. Like, you could literally watch wrestling like all day on the weekends. There
Yeah,
were
because I
so
believe
many
it was on
different.
ESPN back in the day too. With
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
seeing the Road Warriors on there and thinking, what's going on here? Because normally we always had to watch the race highlights and football highlights because my dad's real big into the racing scene down there
okay,
by you and stuff.
yeah,
So I was just like, oh my gosh, there's wrestling on here. So I'd actually try to catch a little segment here and there, but unfortunately it didn't last too long. So
right. But yeah, so I remember I started watching WCW when we got um, cable TV. I think it was probably about
okay,
89, 90.
okay,
Um, yeah, so that and right about the time when I was like 13, 14, it lined up with when I started seeing WCW and Ric Flair. So then it was like, okay, this I know he's a bad guy, but he's really
hmm,
cool. Like,
yeah, yeah,
so that's when I started kind of liking the heels a little more.
gotcha. Now you
Um,
mentioned Ric Flair there. I just want to jump in here. I
yeah,
know you were recently just on that show with him down
yeah.
there at the RCCW. How was it to meet someone that you used to watch on TV?
Well, it was awesome. I didn't actually get a chance to meet him.
Oh, okay.
Um, they left right. He was with Mongo's wife,
Oh, okay.
and she wanted to get back to see Steve because he wasn't
Makes
able to
sense.
make it.
Yeah.
So they didn't stick around
Oh,
the whole
gotcha.
show. So I didn't actually get to meet him, but I saw him like 10 feet away. So that
Okay,
was kind of, that was
gotcha.
cool. But
Were you able to ever meet him throughout your career, or
unfortunately, no, he's one of the ones I didn't
oh,
actually meet yet.
dang it? Because I mean, that would have been so cool just to say, hey, like I watched you on TV. Here I am doing what I love, and
Right.
we're on the same card. I mean, that's historic itself. I mean, for you, it's got to be like a bragging because I know I would brag to the moon about it just to
Yeah.
say like this is the guy I watched on TV, someone I liked, and
Right.
my picture is next to his picture in a sense, like so.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was super excited to get a chance to be on that card.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
absolutely.
I feel like your partner could have did more to help you in that situation. Because this is Team Rad, Jared. We're not obsessed fans. We don't boo Rad here. So want to get that out there, Jared. He's gonna hate me so much. But with that show, and then we'll segue back into your teen years here. I mean, I had met Rick here up in Duluth, Minnesota, and then I got a chance to meet him again with my buddy. My buddy was over the moon excited to meet him, and then I was a huge Gilbert Brown fan growing up,
Sure.
and I didn't realize he was going to be up on the stage with Rick. And then we were like two people back, and I got all fangirled out. And I feel kind of embarrassed, but it's a great story. I was like, oh, hi, Mr. Flair, thanks for coming. And then I look at Gilbert and I just lit up like a Christmas tree. And I'm like, oh my God, Gilbert Brown. I was a huge fan. Nice to meet you. Blah, 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 blah. Thanks for coming. Hugged them. And then I had goosebumps the rest of the night because I got to hug Gilbert Brown. But
Oh, so
so,
cool.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you know, to each their own. So,
Right. Yeah, Gilbert Brown. Yeah, that I mean, the '90s Packers. That was,
Hmm.
I love that those teams too. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was so cool.
That was probably the highlight of my trip. And then my buddy, he's a huge Ric Flair fan, and he said I made him cry. Sorry, Chris, I'm letting the world know. All 30 viewers will probably get for this or more, but I know he was super excited, so it said you could have two people, so I drug him along, and he wore the robe, and he was just smitten as a kitten meeting Ric Flair there. So,
That's so cool. Yeah. Yep.
so back to your teen years, was there anybody that you kind of looked at as inspiration? Because again, if people don't know, you are a professional wrestler. Was there anybody in there that stuck out that may have influenced you later on besides Ric Flair?
Um, Trying to think. I mean, I liked the smaller, more athletic guys.
Okay,
And I suppose that's because I knew I was never going to be a giant in wrestling,
okay,
like so yeah, I liked Terry Taylor. Trying to think of some other ones. Jim Brunzell. Yeah.
okay.
All
Yep,
the smaller like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty,
nice, nice.
that size, get wrestlers. Those are the ones that were my favorites as
The
a kid.
actual workers in the wrestling business versus the guy, basically, oh, he's got muscles.
Right.
Let's put him, on the card, So,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's a shot. That is a shot at, like, um, now I had his name. He was Batista's favorite wrestler. The guy never did anything in wrestling. I'm drawing a blank. Not is it? I'm gonna have to move on because I'll just sit here all day.
Oh,
But like
okay. It'll come to you.
yeah, and then I'll just blurt it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
like that was the time period of the big muscle guys.
Right.
The cruiserweights got overlooked. Luckily WWF pushed Brett, pushed Michaels,
Yeah.
Owen. God rest his soul. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
I wish that would have never happened because I feel like maybe the universe could have like transcended him up to Brett status.
Yeah.
I wish he would have left when he had the opportunity. We all know what happened, but yeah, those workhorse guys during
Yeah.
that time did not get enough credit.
No, no. And the thing is they weren't that small. Like they were
Hmm.
all over 200 pounds. Like
Yep,
it wasn't like, I mean, today's like smaller guys are like 170 pounds, 180
yep,
pounds. So yeah, I mean, it was a totally different era.
yeah. And I mean, I love Yokozuna because he was different. But
Right.
Brett, Sean, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, those guys are still some of my favorite. And Eddie Guerrero. I mean, how can you forget Eddie
Yeah,
Guerrero for what
exactly. Yeah.
what he did, his family did. Chavo, Rey Mysterio. I always like the weird ones like Glacier, Disco Inferno.
Yeah.
People like that. So
Yeah, I used to really like Disco Inferno
see,
too.
everybody loves disco. Like
Yeah.
I thought I was alone in my fandom. I hear he's kind of not, the greatest as a Twitter or something, but
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
just thought he was just a stooge, and I was like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
I know nothing about disco, but Disco Inferno is cool to me. So
Yeah, I met him years later, like
okay.
2007 or 8, somewhere in there. Did some shows with him for Steel Domain out in South Dakota.
Oh,
So
nice, nice.
yeah, yeah, he was cool.
Oh man, I'm sure. Like I don't know. I really want to meet him just to be like, dude. Like for some reason, well, I won't say some reason, but like he's just something about him. And then Ernest the Cat Miller.
Right.
I always enjoyed his opening matches for the pay per view, the red shoes. I
I
always
loved
thought
his
he just
entrance song.
yeah,
That was
but
awesome.
and then Mark Marrow too. I had a couple of his action figures. And he's another name that just doesn't get the props for the wrestling that he did.
Right. Right.
Granted, not stable, Sable, kind of stole that spotlight, and I don't know if
Oh
that was
yeah.
a real thing when, they feuded because she was getting more popular, but, that kind of took away from, that WCW wild man Mark Marrow, I think. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. She definitely stole the spotlight from him, so to speak.
Now, as a teenager, yes, it was fun to see all that stuff because, hormones, blah, blah, blah. But as an adult, going back and looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's just trashy and disrespectful. It's just like, oh my goodness, like the things they
Yeah,
did. But, as
it was
life,
a. I
everything
don't know. I just
evolves.
chalk
So,
it up to it was a different time and different
yep,
era, and
yep, yep.
it was
And
what
I'm
it was.
sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure, hopefully they green lighted that and just didn't have to do it. So,
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
so, with wrestling, about what time did you start wrestling? I know we're not going to get too much into your career, but I just want to kind of,
Okay.
piece it together. So, people, if you're
Sure.
here
Yeah.
to hear about Rad's wrestling career, you can get that on other podcasts. I just kind of want to know the fandom, but kind of when did that time, or that itch get into you to perform?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, I was a huge fan, but I
Hmm.
didn't really know how to get into it or even if it was possible, because all these guys seemed larger than life. And then it was 1998. I was I just got finished playing college basketball and I was done with college for a while.
Okay.
And it was like a friend of mine saw an ad in the Eau Claire newspaper for a wrestling school in Bloomington, Minnesota. And it was actually Jim Gagne
Oh, okay.
um, was actually working with Ken Patera, and Ken was running the school, but Jim was like his recruiter for Wisconsin.
Okay.
So Jim put this ad in the Eau Claire paper, and I called. It was like a Friday night, and I called the number, talked to Jim. He said to meet him on Saturday, and we were going to go up to the cities to meet with Ken. So Saturday we drove to the cities, met with Ken. Sunday we started camp. It was that quick. It was like 2 days.
Oh, okay.
And then we started camp on Sunday. I think it was like the end of January in '98. And then yeah, the Ken's camp was pretty intense. And it was like, I don't know, like 3 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. And then we would do like we would run a mile. It was like the old Vern Gagne camp,
Okay.
how it started out with like we were doing like push-ups and sit-ups and squats, and like then we'd get in the ring and start doing rolls and bumps and stuff. And yeah, at first it was really like structured like that, and then as time
Mhm.
went on it became less so. But yeah, it was a good excellent learning going through
Was
Ken's
there
camp.
anybody else from that heyday that was kind of in your group? Did anybody else, make it out of that to become a wrestler? Or
Yeah, so there were five of us in that initial that we were in the first camp. I was in the first
oh, okay,
class or whatever. And it was me and Mad Wolverine. I don't know if you remember him. He was
no,
in he was in AAW over here in like the Eau Claire area.
okay,
Um, late '90s, early 2000s. And then the farmer was the guy that I had my first first matches with. He wrestled for Ken.
okay,
Um, and then there was another guy that wrestled for Jim in AEW, big guy. Tom Novak was his name. And then the other guy never actually, I think he had like one or two matches and he hurt his knee and he quit.
gotcha.
So out of five of us, like, well, two of them have unfortunately passed away.
Oh, okay,
So, but then the second camp, he had Matt Burns. I don't know if you remember Matt. Um,
mhm,
he wrestled for Steel Domain and Ken, and I think he had a WCW match with Hugh Morris.
okay,
Um, and then he also had Shifty and Sheriff, who they started MPW Midwest Pro Wrestling.
okay,
That was kind of a big deal for a while in Minnesota. They were around for I don't know 7 or 8 years probably.
gotcha.
Um, so yeah, they trained. I mean, Kent trained quite quite a few guys that were in the scene for a long time.
Well, that's good. Now, how long have you been in the the business then?
Uh, well, in January it'll be 25 years.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah,
Awesome job there, sir.
yeah.
Because
Thanks.
I remember, it's okay to mention, like I remember Red Lightning, a lot, and
Yep.
my godson, one of the first shows that he went to, he saw you and he was hooked, and then the next one we went to, he made a sign.
Oh, cool.
He was wearing his Airwolf mask, and then I believe he attacked Riley Jackson at that show. It might have been a
Yeah,
different show, but yeah, he was super excited to have that Red Lightning. Like he was all for it. So
that's
I'll
so
have to try
cool.
to
Yeah,
find that picture and send it to you. But yeah, so,
yeah. That'd be great.
so
Yeah.
mhm. I think he might have signed it too because
Okay.
I believe Corbin was there back in the day. I mean, they're starting
Yep.
to blur together in my brain because I've been to so many shows. Especially down there, up here.
Right.
Um, so that's a great segue to jump into Showtime.
Yeah.
Now, you want to give us a little backstory on that? Anything
Sure.
you want to indulge? The floor is yours, sir.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Showtime, I started that in 2017.
Okay.
So I'd been in the business like I suppose like 19 years at that point. Um, and it was just kind of the next progression, I guess,
Okay.
was to I always had that in the back of my mind when I was just doing the wrestling thing where it was like, maybe, after I've been in it a while and kind of get comfortable, I wouldn't mind running my own events and things. So yes, originally it started with it was going to be a one-off event because I didn't know if it was going to work or not.
Hmm.
Um, as a fundraiser for like the local Special Olympics program.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So a friend of mine that I worked with, his son was in Special Olympics, and he's the one that kind of got us the building and got everything set up. So I just put the show together with Josh Callisto actually.
Okay.
So him and I kind of worked together and got that first show going, and um, so yeah, the show went so well that the manager from the building was like came up to us at intermission and was like gave us like a dates for a whole year,
Hmm.
like they wanted us back. So that's how it started, and then 5 years later we're still going.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Showtime?
So this is another tie-in. Like I think I mentioned I played basketball in high school and college,
Okay.
and also around, when I was a kid, like the 80s Lakers, they were like the team, like
Oh, okay.
everybody's
Yep.
favorite. And their nickname was the Showtime Lakers because of how they played, like their style. And I always thought that was cool. So I just thought that would be a cool name for a wrestling promotion too.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely like the way that one just kind of pops. Showtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I've been to more than a dozen of your shows probably, with the Barking Spiders, their
Yeah.
last show up there in Rice Lake.
Rice
That
Lake.
that was a fun venue. The Eagles Club down there in
Yeah.
Chippewa, another fun little venue. You know, you
Yeah.
guys do definitely put on a great show there.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Now we've got we just the last show we did was at a new well, probably the our main menu going forward.
Okay.
Is the American Legion Hall on Water Street in Eau Claire. So
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, I mean just a progression. Things change and we got to move around. So we're still going to be doing the Rice Lake events as well. So
Nice.
yeah,
So now to put you on the spot a little bit here, because I'm
yeah.
hoping to get a little bit of an exclusive. Is there any small spoilers we can expect out of Showtime in the future, like maybe growing or a new city? Anything that I can get the inside scoop to feel special. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Rad.
Sure. Well, I mean, I would definitely would tell you if I had anything lined up for sure. Um, but this week we're going to be getting.
Oh, one more time there. The audio kind of slipped out on me there.
Oh, okay. This week I'll be getting the dates
Oh,
lined up for 2023. So
There we go. So, Friends of the
yeah.
Squared Circle exclusive, everyone. So,
Right, right.
so. Now, as we mentioned, you do wrestle, you do promote. Is there anything else in the wrestling business that you want to do or that you do that we're not familiar with?
Um, well, I've done some training of guys with
Oh,
guys
okay.
in the past. And that's something that I potentially would be interested in doing more of.
Okay.
Um, so that's also a possibility down the road. Um, but right now it's just yeah, just
Gotcha.
wrestling and promoting.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys all need to check out Showtime Pro Wrestling down there. I would say home base Temple Eau Claire area because they're
Yeah.
basically the same thing. Eau Claire's the bigger city that you would hear. Um,
Yeah.
and again, I can't say enough. Like, it's fun. It's always good for the kids. Um, very friendly. The wrestlers are great. We love Rad here at Friends of the Squared Circle. Again, cheap plug to Jared, just to rub it in his face.
Yeah.
Now, trying to think, I had a question there. I was segueing to it, and then I got excited to make fun of Jared. Um, you mentioned that you're going to be lining up dates, so that's a little exclusive. You're
Yep.
going to possibly train people. I'm just trying to rehash to get back to my question if I can remember it. Stumbling today so bad. I apologize.
That's okay.
But so right now, who are some of the current stars? There we go. Here it comes. That you're excited about there at Showtime. I know that a few of the roster, but fans that don't know, who are some of the people that you're pretty high on there?
Sure, yeah. Well, Kyle Pro is our heavyweight champion right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, Kyle Pro he's great. All of his matches are fantastic.
Hmm.
And so he's kind of the flag bearer, so to speak, right now, with
Okay.
Showtime. Kind of the crowd favorite though has got to be the Dad Bod God,
Oh,
Local
okay.
Sensation. Um,
I
yeah,
remember.
he's definitely in the Eau Claire, Rice Lake, Chippewa Falls
Hmm.
area. They love him. They
Yeah.
can't, Devlin Kane is
Oh, yeah.
super over with our crowd too. Um, for heels, the problem Paul Verk is excellent.
Yes. Yep.
Um, Riley Jackson, of course, is fantastic.
Abby, if
Um,
you're listening, we're booing Riley Jackson right out of that building. So,
yeah. And then I like to use guys from the Green Bay, Milwaukee area too.
okay.
Um, so like Ghetto Gear Solid, they're excellent in the ring tag team.
Hmm.
And I use Brock Hall from over by Green Bay. He's
Oh,
excellent.
Brock Hall. Oh,
Yes.
I forget about Brock Hall. That boy. No offense, Brock. I just gotta say this, but that dude can piss people off
I know he's
by
great.
smiling. Like, oh, I forgot about Brock Hall. Like, I deserve to be slapped. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that is a great one that you brought up there. Yep, I
I
love
love
Brock
having
Hall.
Brock Hall on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Joey Avalon, of course, he's booked so much and so often that it's hard to get him, but
Yeah. Yep.
we did get him last year for a fair show that we had, and
Oh,
him
okay.
and Dad Bod God had an awesome like brawl through the crowd main event
Nice.
match. So that was cool.
Yeah, I always say every show I go to that Joey's my best friend, and I'm sure he got sick of hearing it. So now every time he sees me, he's like, "Hey, friend." So I'm working him over. I just gave him and Sierra some custom tumblers from our sponsor, Superior Creations, to keep making sure that he's my best friend. So
Yeah,
that means
yeah.
some
So
great names you named there: Brock
yeah,
Hall, Joey Avalon. I know you had Sierra in the building.
Sierra,
Um,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
When
yeah.
again, kind of like Joey, she's hard to get on the show because she's booked everywhere, but
Oh yeah, like
we love having her there too. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely.
She is a sweetheart, but when the lights are on, it's
Yeah, she's
oof,
great. Yep.
uh, just scary. I mean, and it's a good scary because she's ready to go, and we just saw her at this last show, and some of the guys were just um, taken aback that she was wrestling a male superstar.
Right.
and they're all betting on the guy, and I was like, hey, I don't want to like change anybody's bets here, but she
Exactly.
gonna
Yeah.
come out and slap a boy, like.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
afterwards, they were just, singing the praise for her. She held her own, whooping him
Absolutely.
around the ring, and then it, turned into what it turned into. But like, she is definitely one tough cookie,
Yeah, she
and
is.
she will
Yep.
mess you up. So she scares
Yeah.
me in a good way. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
I'm afraid I don't want to, miss anybody or overlook
Mhm,
anybody, but yeah, the whole roster, everybody that we use, I've never, I've very rarely have ever had any issues or any problems
mhm.
with anybody. So yeah,
Yeah. Again,
the,
I can't say it enough. Like Showtime, it's always a fun time down there. I usually like to swing in when I'm back home because that's where I'm from, and
okay, cool.
I always try to get everybody to go. My nephew absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
My godson loved it. We actually have a picture where we're sitting on the ring there, and it holds a lot of good memories. Like, and then hopefully
awesome.
one day, my nephew will look back on those fondly, like I did with my uncle and stuff. Because I remember the few wrestling shows that they had taken me to as a kid.
Right.
And now that I'm doing
Yep.
the podcast, my uncle's just like, geez, who haven't you met yet? I'm like, well, you kind of started this bug in me. It just kind of took off in 2008, and now I'm doing a silly little podcast on it. So
Cool. That's awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah. So you've been
and who
going to
knows? I
shows?
mean, again, not to age you here, we probably crossed paths when I was just a wee one too. So
Probably,
yeah.
yeah. I've heard that. It is kind of odd to hear
hmm
like a grown man tell you I used to watch you when I was a kid,
hmm
but it is what it is,
Yep.
right?
I mean, you've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something a lot of people don't get to brag about.
Right.
That is, I mean, wear that badge with honor, sir. I mean,
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
I didn't even think it was that long, to be honest with you. And then I was just like, whoa.
right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm happy that I was able to make it this long.
Okay.
It's a lot of guys don't last, you know, nearly that long, but
Mhm.
I've been lucky. I've been lucky. It's
And
been fun.
I'm sure you're familiar with Cooter out in the wrestling, Cooter and
Yes.
Duck.
Yes, I
Okay.
am. Yep.
So he showed me some old promo photos of like some of the matches and stuff down there. I think it was at like Regis High School or something.
Yes. Yep.
And it like clicked in my brain because I remember seeing his face. I think he had some face paint. I was like, I
Yep.
think I remembered you because you wore that ridiculous face paint. He's like, really? I was like, for some reason that stands out to me.
Did you
So
go to some of those shows?
I'm sure I did because my uncle took me to a few, and then we were on some. I think one in Fall Creek,
Yep.
and I want to say like Honky Tonk Man or somebody was there. And my uncle was telling me it was such a big deal because he was on TV, and I'm like young, and then Cooter had told me he's like, "Oh, I was on that show." I was like, "Okay, well then, that's probably why that memory stands out." So, but
Yeah, the first time I remember there was a huge show in Fall Creek, which is a tiny town, but it's only
mhm,
like maybe 15 miles from Eau Claire.
yep,
So this was in 98, like July of 98. And Ken ran a show in Fall Creek, and yeah, I don't even remember all the guys that were on that one, but he used to bring in a lot of like he'd bring in like Jim Neidhart and Honky Tonk Man and
okay,
the guys that he was friends with in WWE back in the day.
gotcha.
So yeah,
So who knows? Maybe I did meet Jim the Nightheart or something. I don't know. I
right.
just the one that stands out the most is Varen von Raschke. He put the
Yep.
claw on my head, and I was just like, like this dude's touching me. He's touching me. He's doing a
Yeah.
wrestling move. So
Yeah. Yeah, he
yeah,
was he was around a lot back then,
yeah,
Baron.
great guy.
Yeah, excellent guy. Yeah.
So before we get you out of here, is there anything else you want to plug? Anything you want to brag about? Again, the floor is yours to anything you want to throw out there to the universe, any socials, and then we can always get those links from you and put those in the description when we post the video.
Okay, yeah. No, definitely just check out Showtime Pro Wrestling on Facebook. Like I say, this week I should be announcing um, a few upcoming events. And then also check out our YouTube page, Showtime Pro Wrestling
Oh,
YouTube.
okay. Okay.
We record almost every event, and Dangerous Don Rue and Travis Lee and Logan Lasher do the commentary for
Okay.
our matches. So it's excellent. You're getting like guys with like 20 years or more experience doing the commentary on these matches,
Hmm.
and it's excellent commentary. So
Awesome. We'll definitely throw some of that stuff up on the Facebook page,
yeah,
with your blessing, of course, because I like to be respectful and make sure I have permission,
yeah, absolutely,
before,
yeah,
because I don't want to step on any toes. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Friends of the Squared Circle, the networking. But yeah, so
awesome, yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me. This is great.
yeah, great discussion. I learned a lot. People seriously, go out there and check out Showtime Pro Wrestling. They are a fun company to see. It's good for all ages. Rice Lake, that beautiful venue there.
Yep,
The
we
American
got the
Legion Hall there in Eau Claire. You
Elks
know,
Lodge and
mhm.
American Legion in Eau Claire, Elks Lodge in Rice Lake, and American
And
Legion
then,
in Eau Claire.
hopefully, I'm planning a wedding. Randy, take a shot. That's an inside joke on our podcast here. Only one for you today. Hopefully, once wedding season's over, I can make it down that way and, maybe meet some more friends, as I like to call it, and maybe set up a vendor table. So
Awesome.
perfect.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. We're always looking for that. And
Awesome.
also a little shout out to the guy that you were making fun of earlier, Jared. He's a huge help to Showtime.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to, thank him for all the help that he gives us, and he's a great guy to have around, and he's willing to help out with anything. So it's great
Hmm.
to have people like that on staff that you can depend on. Also, Bob, he's actually my cousin, but he's also a huge help with the ring and setting up backstage and everything. And without those two guys, I don't know, it'd be tough.
Yeah.
Gotta have good helpers. So yeah,
Yeah.
big shout out to Jared and Bob.
I've known Jared since I was in grade school, and he was so excited to tell me all the things that he does. We won't peel the curtain too back on what he does, but
Yeah,
you know, he is a big supporter of Friends of the Squared Circle here. I send him every episode. He's got a little beef with his brother now. They're competing on who would have a better episode. Hopefully, get those boys on, and then see you guys down that way for sure.
for sure.
So, Rad, as I like to say, we'll kick you out of here. We'll have you hang in the lounge there.
Okay,
I'll plug my stuff one more time, and then we'll chat off camera. But
okay.
appreciate you coming and taking the time out of your day to come on and promote Showtime, as well as hang out with us and being a friend of the Squared Circle. So,
Absolutely. Thank you.
all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q, aka my real name. Now, as I've told you before, we got merch, we got hats, we got t-shirts, we got stickers. Yes, and the holiday season is upon us. We're hoping to revamp, get new designs, so you can continue that collection. More episodes of Friends of the Squared Circle slash Show Me the Collectibles will be coming soon as well. Again, custom tumblers by Superior Creations there. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit them up on Facebook to get all your custom tumbler needs for the holiday season, as well as I sponsor Darren Corbin, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, all at Darren Corbin. And yes, people, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. Darren's going through an injury right now. Feel free to hit him up on patreon.com/Darren Corbin, where tiers start at $1. The Patreon is a great way to support Darren, as well as to get exclusive content. He posts this every day. Huge fan of Darren, as well as Darren is a fan of us. That might just be me saying that last part, but again, we had a vendor table. We met a bunch of new friends. Hopefully, we continue to grow this podcast. I appreciate every one of you, and as always, it's your boy Crander Q. Crander Q out.